Well, the Temerity Faculty of Medicine at the University of Toronto has launched a weekly lecture series to draw attention to a major ecological threat to our planet. The lectures, which are open to the public, focus on the Anthropocene. That's the most recent period in Earth's history when human activity started to have a significant impact on the planet's climate and ecosystems. The lecture series highlights those issues from overconsumption, overpopulation, and industrialization, and presents solutions that engage the medical community and general public to achieve positive change. For more on this, I'm joined by Dr. David Jenkins, professor with the Departments of Nutritional Sciences and Medicine and the Temerity Faculty of Medicine at the University of Toronto. I'm joined by Dr. David Jenkins, professor with the Departments of Nutritional Sciences and Medicine and the Temerity Faculty of Medicine at the University of Toronto, and moderator of this lecture series. Doctor, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
So first of all, tell us what the Anthropocene is and why addressing it in this lecture series is just so important.
Well, I think the Anthropocene is a term that was coined probably for the Oxford English Dictionary in 2014, and it really refers to human activity on the planet and the very damaging activity that we've got to us. I think we're becoming aware that not only changes climate, but it reduces water in the right places. We get polar cap melting, so that we get sort of increase in floods. So we get droughts, floods, destruction of rainforest, which we're using for cattle rearing, certainly in the Amazon, and so many other dangerous changes that are leading us down a path where we may not be able to return if we don't smarten up very quickly.
Doctor, what are some major causes of the Anthropocene?
Well, I think basically it's our consumption and it's our incredible economic success. We've multiplied our numbers exponentially since the time that Malthus, 200 years ago, warned us of the population increase. And all these people require things. They require food, they require health, they require all the economic and industrial advantages of the age. And the planet can't support these.
Doctor, what about solutions? What are things people at home can do to help any way they can?
People at home can do a lot, actually. I think they can use less fossil fuels. They can try and use things like bikes, or they must go to the grocers and recycle. In other words, you take your own bag with you. You don't waste plastic. You turn your lights off. You change your dietary habits. It's always been said that a plant-based diet, eating Canada's food guide, for example, would do a great deal to help with the industrial cost that we've got of this human activity. And then, as you're showing here, we'd be able to have more pandas and more land for elephants, more water for birds and other beasts, so that we would still maintain our flora, because we've lost over 30% of the mammalian species in the last 30 years. So it's really catastrophic. Nobody's recognizing the rate at which this is happening. It's a really great rate. I think we're beginning to know that we're getting very strange climate effects in parts of the world.
Yeah.
And that's tremendously important. Again, it's a part of what we're producing.
Also, Doctor, I think it's important to know, too, the lectures that you're delivering, they're open to the public.
Absolutely.
Tell me how important it is to engage the public in this way.
I think the public are going to be the solutions. It's the public who are going to change our political way of doing things. It's the public who are going to take a leadership role. And unfortunately, it's not going to be the politicians and the regular leaders we look to. It's got to be the general public. Even medics, being part of the general public, are not always aware of this immense danger that we're all facing, a danger that will not only kill our own species, but every other species that we've got on the planet, and make it a sterile place to live in. So change your habits, change your diet, change the way you do things, reduce the amount of energy you use, and reduce your use of fossil fuels.
Doctor, very briefly before we wrap up here, can you talk to us about the disparity you see in terms of how environmental crises are impacting different communities around the world?
Well, I mean, we know for our own Inuit, we know how they're trying to resist the effects of climate change, which are thawing their ice at the times they need ice, giving them bogs where they don't want it. And they're doing great things. There are big initiatives in the north, for example, to get away from fossil fuel use and use the sun and use solar panels. So that's one way. What's it doing to communities all over the world? Well, the poorer the community, the less resources you've got for the tremendous cost of building up when there have been major climate change catastrophes. When there are droughts, what do? They starve. When there are floods, what do? They die in the flood. So yes, it's been tremendously bad. And we know that the islanders, the South Sea Islanders, for example, are very dependent on their coral islands for the fact that they've got a sea level which is constant. Once the sea level starts to rise, then poorer people in coastal communities are going to be the ones who suffer most. So yes, the poor will suffer very unduly in this, and it is unfortunately those of us in the more affluent part of the world with our industrialization that have caused this.
And it's all happening so fast. Dr. David Jenkins, really, really appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.